dedicated school, dedicated fire station. And the deal is, if you opt into it, it's an opt-into program, volunteer, to accept that increase in density, knowing that Sarasota County does not have the budget or the long-range plan to put in all that infrastructure, then you accept the deal that the development pays for that infrastructure. And there's two policies in Sarasota 2050 that clearly says that the cost of development east of I-75 or in Sarasota 2050, when you opt into it, cannot burden the Sarasota County taxpayer. And that is the policy where the developers of Sarasota 2050 wants to either eliminate or weaken by using credits or, lowballing the cost they want to pay, because they do want the rest of the county to pay for their infrastructure. Pat Neal was quoted recently in the Sarasota Herald Tribune saying that he thought it was equitable that the 91% of the existing Sarasota County taxpayers paid for the 9% of the new development happening east of I-75. I don't think it's equitable. If you opt into the program and you're willing to get the increased density to your benefit, then you should pay for the infrastructure it incurs and do not burden the Sarasota County taxpayer.
Thank you.
Information can be our best friend in this. First of all, this was passed in '02. There was a lawsuit, and that lawsuit was settled 2 years later or so. Some of the people that filed that lawsuit are the same people, because it was not a good law, are now saying don't change a thing. First of all, impact fees are necessary. I don't think there's anybody there, currently or in the future, who's going to vote to do away with impact fees. Developers do not get away with what everyone says they do. There's a comprehensive plan, there's a zoning code, there's land development regulations, and there's local and state building permit requirements. Let me give you an example. Venetian Golf and River Club, very close to us here, in the city of Venice, was a cow pasture, except for a forested area along the Mayaca, 220 feet at its narrowest, 900 feet at its widest. That all was set aside and given to the homeowners association. They paid an impact fee. They paid an extra impact fee. They gave 10 acres for the park you're all enjoying on the Mayaca River. They gave 2 acres for a public safety building. They gave well sites. They built 2 of the lanes of Laurel Road. When that project, and it was just all a pasture with hardly any taxes being paid on it, it was all pasture except for this area along the river. When that came before the Venice City Council years ago, the city manager did an analysis of it. He hired people to do an analysis, and he said, if you put this in with private roads, and they build the roads, bring the sewers, bring the water, bring the reuse, build Laurel Road, your taxes will go down. That's the tax rate you enjoy now.
Okay, I see a hand in the back.
Last couple subjects have been involving developers and contributions. My question is, for the 4 candidates, what percentage of your time, can you give us a source of your major contributors, what industries they're in, and since we're talking about developers, whether you have a significant contributor group from funds from the developers?
Sure. Let's face that one head on. I've raised more money than anybody up here. I have a thick layer of firemen and policemen as my contributors. I have a very thick layer of small business people as my contributors. I have a layer of doctors, lawyers, dentists as my contributors. I have people in the development community. I have people that are surveyors, people that are masons. I have a great number of people from every walk of life in this community. Let me pose a different analysis. If all my friends and all my clients and all the people that I see on a day-to-day basis all didn't support me, what would you think of me, for goodness sakes? There were no dishonorable people on that list. There are no criminals on that list. They are all very decent people, and they contribute to a maximum of $200. If I were running for the Northport City Commission, I think I could accept checks of $1,000. You all took care of that with a charter amendment that limits us to $200.
My contributors are all support-based, but there aren't any developers on my contribution list, and nobody accept contributions from a developer, major developer. And I have a lot of retired, a lot of small businesses in my list, but nothing, no one big or major on my contribution list.
I enjoy, thankfully, the support of a good chunk of people who support me for city commission. It depends on what you call a developer. If a software developer is a developer, I guess you could say, yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem here, is we like to pick and choose what we like and what we don't like. I try to seek the support of every person I can get, because, you know, this is a very large community, there are very diverse interests here, and if you want to represent your constituents, it's good to have a good mix among them. Lots been made of out-of-town money and all this kind of stuff. I just tell you, if you see some money in my campaign account from out of town and there's a vowel in the name, it's probably someone who's related to me. And I don't know if what I'm going to do for my aunt and uncle if they want to move to Sarasota, but when I tell people about fundraising, it's like a bit like selling Girl Scout cookies. You go to the low-hanging fruit first and you ask your friends and family. A lot is made of this, and it's really quite preposterous. At the end of the day, people engage with who they engage with, and you try to make lots of friends because you have to represent a lot of people. Now, I believe that the person who contributes $5 has the same value as a person who contributes $200. I don't put a price on that. Representative of the constituent is a constituent as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Matt, I'm going to hit you for a contribution after this. Most of my contributors are retired, and a lot of them can't afford a $200 contribution. They give what they want. And somebody's waiting. Oh, she's waiting. Okay, so let's see. I put some of my own money in from now and then, and I usually have to take it back out when other contributions come in because I'm on Social Security. So what would happen though, if say Pat Neal gave me 10 $200 contributions? Well, I would say thank you very much. You understand, of course, that contributing to me is a contribution to good, honest government, and you'll still have to abide by fiscal neutrality.
Okay, a gentleman here.
Yes, this is directed mostly at,
His microphone.
this is directed mostly at Pete. You were saying that developers should be required to basically increase the infrastructure when they're going to develop a piece of property. And what would you propose they do? Widen streets or, you know? What's your solution?
My solution is that there should be an estimate of the cost of that development. Whatever the plan is, it should be estimated out front, and whatever impact is going to be on the rest of the county, they should pay that to begin with. And then after it's all developed and the infrastructure is developed, there should be a back audit afterwards to make sure that they paid enough. So an initial estimate, the payment, rebuild it all, and then a back audit to make sure they paid enough. Is that specific enough?
Thank you. Sir, you want to answer that?
I thought he was putting that specifically towards Pete this morning.
Well,
And we're wondering, how's that
Yeah,
going to
how's that
alleviate?
going to alleviate traffic problems?
I can't answer that question because I don't have an answer to that because I don't think that it does. All I can say is I would agree that you can't assess traffic situations that way.
Exactly. And it's conjecture.
okay, did you want the other folks to answer that same question, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, how would you alleviate the traffic problems in a development when you don't even know where it's going to be? You know, and what are you gonna do? Widen streets that cannot be widened?
Well, there's no street that cannot be widened. You might have to buy some more right of way, but certainly it can be widened.
Try widening Tamiami.
Well, that's another way of saying that they can't do it.
Okay. All right, in the back, we have a question all the way in the back.
I have a comment first and then a question. I served on a Tampa Horizon 2000 committee a great many years ago, when 2000 seemed like a long time away. And our big hang-up on this committee was very similar to what we're hearing today. If you make the impact fees so high, builders won't come and build, and the houses will be so expensive that people won't be able to come and buy them. Have you seen a problem anywhere in the Tampa area with builders not building or people not coming to live in the developments they build? No. The point is, if you're going to impact sewer systems, water systems, and traffic, you have to pay for it. Yes, you widen streets, you put in a left turn lane if you're going to build a shopping center, or you put in a traffic signal. There are lots of things you can do. Impact fees are not going to slow down, much less stop growth. The question I have is, will each of you clarify what district you're running in and who your opponent is? Because I'm not sure everybody here understands.
I appreciate your comment regarding the impact fee, because you just made the point much better than I could have made it. This is not a one-size-fits-all thing. I'll give you an example. In the city of Sarasota, when I first got on the commission, we did away with utility impact fees. We're not responsible for, we don't assess the school taxes and the emergency services taxes and the road tax that's done by the county, but we eliminated the impact fee that we could have because it was utility hookup fee. And once, typically in the city, since you have infill development, you are redeveloping vertically, so the cost is less. Therefore, there's no big benefit other than just sort of raking the coals over someone to get them for a utility impact fee. Yet you have the other infrastructure impact fees in place. There's not one way to do anything when it comes to this. It's really, what does the community want and how are we going to get there? It is not wrong to disincentivize development if that's what your community wants. And just as on the counterpoint, it's perfectly okay to incentivize areas, large areas, small areas, in a way that you want to incentivize. Every community is different. What was the second part of that? What district am I? Now I'm going to remember that, because that's the hard part of the question. District 2 in the Sarasota County Commission. Pete and I are running. Yeah.
To address the impact fee, I agree with you. It never stopped development. We still have development. In the meantime, the county has reduced the road impact fees, and guess what we're falling behind on? Road construction, because we don't have the money. Not only repaving, we need new roads, and we're falling more and more behind. So it is an issue. I think impact fees is important, and it doesn't stop development. I'm running for District 4. That's currently Commissioner Patterson's seat, and my opponent is Al Mayo.
I also obviously am running for District 4. Lourdes is my opponent. Just a few quick pieces of information on impact fees. You just got Jack Landa Boulevard built from Border Road to Laurel Road, 100% with the impact fees that have been paid. They're called capacity fees. People say impact fees for water and wastewater. Bonds were floated to build, and money contributed to build a new Venice plant at the southeast quadrant of Laurel Road and 75. When people pay their water and wastewater impact, that is capacity fees, that's how those bonds get retired. That's how you took the wastewater treatment plant, the sewer plant, off the beach. Those fees are still there. As far as the impact fees being lowered, yes, they have. But Manatee County and Charlotte counties, fees are lower than ours. Lee County reduced their impact fees by 80%. So no way is Sarasota County giving it up, giving it away. Thank you.
Okay, we got time for,
Hello, my name is John. I have a quick question for you, and you forgive me because I'm sort of ignorant about it. I've done a bit of a cursory reading, and generally, as I understand it now, developers are saying, hey, we have so many acres of green space, and we can't do a damn thing with it. So we're going to use that to increase our density over here. What are your thoughts on that?
You're talking about the transfer of development rights?
Yes.
Well, that's something that we do have in the code, and it makes sense. So instead of sprawl, which is inefficient for the government, when you have sprawl and you have to put roads all over the place, of course, you're going to have a higher cost of maintaining those roads, for instance, sewer, water, etc. If you can compact the development by transferring development rights from the greener areas to it's more of a village, which is what Sarasota 2050 was supposed to do, then it makes more sense. It makes more efficient government. And we have a study from Sarasota County that shows that when you compact development, because taxes are combined, it becomes more of a tax revenue for Sarasota. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And in that regard, you're talking more of a mixed-use facility?
These transfer development rights that Lord has talked about, they're sometimes called TDRs, the acronym. And the county does not have an expansive program yet on doing that. There are rules in place. And interestingly enough, one of the first places they looked to was county-owned land. About 32% of the county, of our county is in public ownership. And that land went into public ownership, but it still has entitlements, if you will, from its old zoning and density on it from its old zoning, never to be used. The county owns it now. But the county looked to sell the first batch of these TDRs off their land. And I would think, I believe I'm right, that any of the money that comes from those sales would go again to retire the bonds for the extra part of the sales tax, the extra payment that we make for the environmentally sensitive lands.
It's real hard to answer the question unless you're looking at a specific project. Land development gets very complex. I will tell you from a macro level, I think it's important. This sort of goes to the point, this demonization or a skepticism that goes along with people from the private who work in the private sector for however long period of time. But I think it's important to have people who work for the county who have been employed on the other side so that they can scrutinize apples to apples what a developer or whomever asks for. I think people are sort of geared to asking for more than they need. That's inherent within the human condition. We all know that. So I think having a good process and having the right talent pool to deal with specific issues with certain parts of certain projects is good policy. I don't think it's bad to have private sector experience at all. In fact, I think it's a very good idea.
Well, it depends on what they did after they transferred the development rights. Let's say the county decided to sell development rights to, say, 50 acres somewhere, and they took the money and retired bonds or whatever, or maybe even reduced taxes. But okay, now these development rights are sold. They've been used somewhere else. But say 30 years later, someone comes along and says, oh, we'd like to develop on there, and then they do. The question would be, will we have the institutional memory 30 years down the road? I should think the development rights sale should be noted on the deed to the property, and if it was, and if it was respected later, I wouldn't have a problem with the county doing a sale like that, provided the county commission approved it.
thank you. And we got one more question. The lady that's walking away.
Wow, he called me a lady today.
You don't need a microphone.
Okay, I first want to give the four of you, thank you for coming. I'm the lady, one of two people responsible in the early 90s when I served on the Charter Review Board for the $200. And I hope that doesn't change. And Tony? Did you hear what I said? I hope that doesn't change the 200.
I heard
It should
you.
be made 200. That's my amendment.
I couldn't help but hear you.
Okay, okay. The other thing I want to say, I've lived in a lot of countries, some longer than others. Let me tell you, Venice, of all the countries I've been to and the country I come from, Venice is the greatest place on earth. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Okay. I also want to give you some information about this club. We usually have a lot more people here, but I don't know where they are today. But in 2010, this club was responsible for producing the highest voting precinct in the state of Florida. No other county has done that I know of. In 2012, we in South County had the highest votes in the county. We were 8% over North County. And this is all done by grassroots. What I want to ask each one of you, because we seem to be ignored down here. We're like red-headed stepchildren, okay? And I'm not saying anything bad about the commissioners, because when I call any one of them and if we have a problem, they come down here. But we see all these candidates coming when they're running for office, and then we never see them again. I want to know, are you going to pay attention to Venice? We're in Sarasota County. So each one of you, I'm asking you to pay attention to Venice, because we can turn on you too. Right, everybody?
Right.
So, that's all I have to say. I want a promise from every one of you that whoever is elected, you will not, you will not forget.
You know, I'm going to answer you this way. I'm 64 years old. I've been in a lot of negotiations and tough spots. I've been around a long time. Why is it when Cynthia gets a microphone to ask a question, I say to myself, oh boy, here it comes. I've lived here for 30 years in Venice. I'm not going anywhere. You'll still see me here. I love all the county. I've chosen to live in South County.